So as we just heard, North Korea's ruling party turns 80 this week, and all eyes are now on the military parade it'll hold in Pyongyang. For more on this, we're joined today by Brian Myers, Professor of International Studies at Dongseo University. Professor Myers, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So China's Premier Li Qiang is in Pyongyang, and he's the highest level Chinese official to visit North Korea since 2019. What do you think his appearance at North Korea's military parade signals?
Well, the fact that the number two is going to be watching a parade of weapons, many of which are expressly designed for attacking the United States, sends a much stronger signal of unity than if he were just making a routine diplomatic visit. 10 years ago, a member of China's Politburo attended a parade in Pyongyang where they showed a mock-up of a planned ICBM, but this time it's the premier who's going, and there will be displays of very real advances of ballistic technology. Now, I think on the one hand, China wants to renew the alliance, wants to keep Kim from drifting too deeply into Russia's sphere of influence, but China is also showing Trump it's not going to join any U.S. initiatives aimed at discouraging North Korea's arms program. That stuff is over. On the other hand, this doesn't mean that Beijing is just kind of cheering on Kim to do whatever he wants, because this visit may well be aimed also at kind of guiding and restraining Kim so that he doesn't go too far with missile provocations.
Right, and as for Russia, the deputy chairman of Security Council, and he's also the former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, is also expected to be there. This comes after China's military parade in Beijing last month, where we saw Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin standing side by side. Will North Korea try to use this week's military parade as a chance to sort of show off its close ties with China and Russia?
Well, visits of foreign VIPs have always been central to the regime's propaganda. In the old days, it told its people the whole world looked up to Kim Il-sung as a great genius. So every delegation was hyped up as if it were a tributary visit. Things are different now. People have more awareness of the outside world. But that's all the more reason why they want to see confirmation that North Korea's two big allies are standing by it and showing it respect. And last month, of course, they saw Kim treated in Beijing as the virtual equal of Xi Jinping and Putin. And while these two visitors now are not quite as high-ranking, it's still very good optics for the regime and its domestic propaganda.
Right, and the primary purpose of North Korea's military parade is to showcase its weapon systems. You mentioned that some of them will be aimed at countering the United States. What can we expect to see on display this time?
Well, they're going to show a whole range of what they forgot, because really Kim is trying to arm his way out of sanctions. Now, not to get too technical, but as your reporter already said, the star of the show is certainly going to be the Hwasong-20, so the solid fuel ICBM that can be rolled out and launched very quickly. It can carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs, to pretty much anywhere in the United States. Then there should be a short-range ballistic missile with a hypersonic glide vehicle, and that's a weapon that's perhaps even more worrying from a South Korean perspective. Experts are also reckoning with displays of drone technology, stuff that may have been developed with Russian assistance, and also a display of air defense hardware. And all of this is going to be watched really closely in Washington and Seoul, because if anything new is shown, it's very likely to be tested in the weeks ahead.
Right, and the nominee to be the Pentagon's senior official for the Indo-Pacific region, John No, recently said South Korea's defense capabilities could help deter threats from China. And he also mentioned that the United States must work with allies like South Korea and ask them to significantly boost their own defense spending. What's your take on this? What could this mean for South Korea?
Well, it's no big surprise, because we've known for some time now that America no longer regards South Korea just as a country to be defended against North Korea, but it wants it to become a partner in containing China, and it wants the Lee administration to increase defense spending to that end. Now, South Koreans are used to President Trump demanding that they spend more to defend themselves from North Korea, but all this talk about turning South Korea into a kind of aircraft carrier to be used against China has not been going down well here at all. China is a big trade partner. Its tourists are spending a lot of money here these days. And now the same Trump administration that is pushing South Korea to the wall over trade tariffs is asking Seoul to spend more money to contain China. This is really unpopular with President Li's voter base, with the left-wing media here, and I think even conservatives have some reservations. So I would expect in the months ahead a certain amount of tension between Washington and Seoul in regard to this issue.
Right, I guess we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Myers, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.